by the river, okay? And one of them's a chiropractor, one of them's a medical doctor. And these two gentlemen are fishing, and then all of a sudden, you know, a person starts floating down the river, screaming for help. So they jump in, they pull him up to shore, they save his life. The next day, they're fishing, same guy, floating down the river. So what do? They jump in, drag him off the shore, and they save his life. The next day, once again, they're fishing, but this time, there's like half a dozen people floating down the river, okay, and they're all screaming for help. The medical doctor jumps in the river and goes out after the people. The chiropractor does not. The chiropractor goes up the shore, heads upriver, okay? The medical doctor is yelling at him, why aren't you helping me? Well, you know, we need to help these people. And the chiropractor says, no, I'm going to go upstream and actually help the people before they fall into the river. Okay? So that's what we want to be doing today, is we want to be helping people before they develop health problems, before they develop health conditions. Okay? What controls our health? What do you guys think? What controls our health?
Brain and nervous system.
Brain and nervous system, absolutely. The specific part of the brain is the cerebellum, okay? Right here, the cerebellum. You guys actually have a picture of this in your handout. You should, anyway. The cerebellum is the part of the brain that controls all the normal function of the body, okay? And in order for the cerebellum to get its information, it uses these healthy signals over here, okay? Healthy signals go into the body, into the nervous system, and then the cerebellum can coordinate healthy function. Exercise is the first one there. Exercise is food for the brain, so to speak, okay? Our bodies need to continually be moving, okay? When we stop moving, our brain is not stimulated anymore, and we just can't coordinate those healthy functions, okay? So in this country, unfortunately, a lot of the jobs have to do with sitting, okay? And that leads to big problems, so as much exercise or physical activity as a person can get, that's going to help their brain and nervous system. Chiropractic will also help. Chiropractic actually moves the bones in the spine. You guys all know that, right? But what it does is it also stimulates the nervous system. Okay? So if I was up here just doing some exercises or whatever, looking kind of foolish, that would be more of a global exercise. But when we're doing those chiropractic adjustments, that's more segmental. Okay, so I'll adjust C5 or T8 or whatever it is. So that's a segmental exercise for your nervous system. This is a great study that actually talks about chiropractic and the function of the brain, and it's functional MRI. Okay, everybody's heard of MRI, right? But this one's actually functional. So what they did, these scans here are pre-adjustment. They put a person in the MRI tube, and they had them move their foot, and they did the MRI. And you can see the higher you go on this color scale, the more activity there is in the brain. So yellow would be the highest. So right here, this part of the brain is working the most when he was doing that motion. Okay, so they pulled the person out, they adjusted the person, they stick them back in the MRI tube, and they do the scan again. Now what do you guys see? Any more yellow? Any red? No. Well, there might be a couple of spots right over here. But the point is, after the adjustment, the brain does not have to work as hard to do the same activity, the same motion. Okay? So when you're getting adjusted, your brain is functioning that much better. It doesn't take nearly as much energy to do the same things that you were doing before you got adjusted. That's how someone's causing a disruption. So that's why chiropractic can stimulate the brain so much and actually improve the function of the brain. As we go through these slides now on diabetes, we're actually going to tie it into the nervous system. A lot of what's going on with diabetes is actually controlled by the nervous system, the brain and the nervous system. Okay, types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Who's heard of these before? Okay, so type 1 is insulin deficient diabetes. It used to be called juvenile onset or insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus. Okay, but nowadays they're calling it insulin deficient. Okay, that's type 1. Type 2 is the most common type of diabetes, insulin resistant. Okay, that one used to be called adult onset or non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Big long name. But type 2 is, if you have diabetes, 90% of the people who have diabetes have type 2. Okay, so that one's going to be the most common. I certainly like the new name, so insulin resistant, insulin deficient. It's a lot more self-explanatory. Okay, so tonight I want to talk about mainly type 2 because that's what affects most people. Type 2 insulin resistance diabetes. The pancreas is going to secrete insulin. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen normally, and then the insulin allows the cells in your body to use the sugar, okay, that you eat during a meal. Okay, that's essentially what's supposed to happen. The problem is though, when the cells in the body begin to, when they see too much insulin floating on by, they become desensitized to it. They start to ignore it. Okay, and what happens is the receptors can't use it. They just can't use it. The insulin production therefore increases, right? Because your brain says, I have all this glucose in my blood, we got to keep producing more insulin. So the pancreas just starts cranking out all kinds of insulin and eventually wears out. Okay, that's type 2 diabetes, 90% here. And then the increased insulin causes big problems with immune function, cancers, and obesity. Okay, those are huge problems for a lot of people. Okay, is everybody following me so far? Okay. Causes of diabetes. Diet. Actually, I left one possible cause off of here, so let's see if you guys can figure it out as we go through. But anyways, whoops. Too many buttons. Okay, diet. How can diet cause diabetes? By eating too much. So if you eat too much food, your body is going to have too much blood sugar, so your body's going to have to produce more and more insulin. Okay. Especially the refined carbohydrates. So that's like processed foods. Okay. Cookies and cakes and sweets, of course, have sugar in them, but also processed foods have a lot of carbohydrates that are converted into sugar. Okay, so that can be a big cause. Obesity. What happens here is leptin. Who's heard of leptin? Has anyone heard of leptin? No, and honestly, I had not heard of leptin until I started putting together this presentation. It's actually only been known about for 10 years. Okay, it's very, very new. And I could jump ahead a few slides here, but leptin is basically produced by the fat cells in the body, and what it does is it tells your brain when you're full or when you're hungry. And it tells your body when to burn fat and when to store fat. Okay? So if your leptin levels are all messed up, your body is going to be messed up too, in the sense that you're eating too much, storing too much fat, not burning enough fat, stuff like that. Okay? So that's what's going on there. We'll touch on leptin some more because I have some more slides that explain it better. Inactivity. Exercise burns glucose. Okay? Everybody knows that exercise is good for them, right? I'm not telling you guys anything new. The trick, of course, is to do it, right? And actually, I was just reading something today that talked about 15 minutes per day of resistance training, so that would be weights. Okay? 15 minutes per day is really enough to burn up a lot of excess glucose that people have in their bloodstream floating around in their body. So it doesn't take hours and hours of exercise. Age, you know, this one's tough because we all get older, right? There's no way around that one. But as we get older, your pancreas just gets older, and it's been kicking out insulin for all these years, so the chances of developing diabetes the older